Hello, this is Kari Machiavelli here. As you can see from the camera quality and probably also hear from the audio quality, I'm using a backup phone because my old phone died. And because the data I have on my phone makes me potentially unsafe from a legal standpoint. On the way to work a couple of weeks ago, I just threw my phone into a river, a big river here in Germany, and I really hope it reaches the Atlantic before Europol manages to fish it out. But so far I haven't heard anything, so I think it's already in the ocean, so everything's fine. Now, the thing I wanted to comment on is conservative media. And back to the points of psychological operations between liberals, conservatives, etc. Now, a big problem I see with conservative media, a lot of YouTubers that comment on newspaper articles, headlines, is that we are currently bombarded with so many headlines amongst politics of all kind of directions that they don't really manage to thoroughly comment on all of these newspaper articles, but instead pick out the headlines of the articles and make false assumptions based on that. A prime example I wanted to talk about today is the decision of Friedrich Merz to ban people from calling in sick because it pays too much taxes. And so this is a thing that now conservative media, a YouTuber named Carl Vernon, has picked up upon and interpreted it as people are forced to work, this is going to become slavery, people cannot call in sick anymore at all. This is not the case. Source: I fucking live in Germany. I fucking lived there for most of my life. So let me explain what is really happening here and why this is one of the, I would say, few good decisions that the merz government, that the merz regime has made. So basically, for all of you living in the US or not living in Germany, I don't know how it is for other countries, but usually in the European Union, you have a mandatory health protection, you have a mandatory health insurance, which means either you sign up for private health insurance, which not a lot of people do. It's not as unfair as it is in the US, so it hasn't led to any Luigi Mangione cases here in Germany. So the private insurance here is quite fair and, from what I heard, relatively worth it. But for those of us that living in Germany that can't afford a private health insurance, we are mandatorily subscribed to the public health insurance, which is, well, bad. Like, they have some controversies I'm not going to talk about much sooner, much more in detail. That's another topic and that would bomb the scope of this video. But the mandatory health insurance basically comes off of your taxes. It's not a direct tax, it's a tax you either have to pay for yourself if you're a student like me, or which your employer pays for you if you are a full-time worker, unless you provide an evidence that you are subscribed to a private health insurance provider. And so the main point that the conservatives made, based on the headline that Merz wants to ban in calling in sick, is that this is going to lead to forced labor or completely deluded shit like that. And so what I notice is, after researching the article, they haven't read the whole fucking article. And so what merz is trying to do is basically banning people from getting a sick notice from the doctor directly after a phone call. This was implemented before, like in COVID times, because people couldn't go to the doctors when they had COVID or stuff like that, or they just could call in sick under the assumption that they have COVID and receive a sort of yellow paper, as we would call it in Germany. So it's a notice of, it's like a paper that testifies you being unable to work. And so this regulatory measure, since all the pandemic bullshit is already over, has been lifted up because there is no use anymore for that. And this basically stops people from acting sick by just calling up the doctors and asking for a week off. And so this forces people to go back to the doctor's office to receive a paper that they can't go to work. And so this paper is used to provide to the health insurance provider or to your employer, and once your employer sees it, he's kind of forced to pay for your sick times. And this wastes a lot of taxes, like calling in sick, even if you're not at the doctor's office. And this used to be a thing, the norm, back before COVID, back when stuff was roughly okay. So we couldn't just call up the doctor and ask for a week off because we're sick. We had to go to the doctor's office. We had to smoke like 5 cigarettes, one after the other, so we would get cough and inflamed tonsil area, and we would have to check it. So this would be the way people would be taking off weeks from work, or going to the doctor's office saying we had diarrhea. This is also a common way. This also happened to me once. I went to the doctor's office because I didn't want to work, I don't know, a couple of years ago. I said I had diarrhea, and this was a doctor known for easily giving people weeks off of work for that. And so he touched my tummy, he said, "Oh yeah, that feels bad, I'm going to give you off a week of work." Everything worked, and then I had to go to the bakery because I actually got diarrhea. Yeah. Anyways, the reason this is a smart decision, obviously, is because, first of all, it goes back to the old norm that we had before COVID, none of that COVID paranoia bullshit, and second of all, so it makes people act kind of normal again, going back to normality in a sort of sense, if we ignore all the other shit decisions merz is doing. And second of all, it stabilizes the economy in a way. So the point to take from this video is a government may be as shit as you can imagine and as corrupt as you can imagine, but not every decision that government does is a stupid decision. So always read the articles, think critically, and don't fall for the confirmation bias. So basically automatically looking for signs to confirm your worldview, which can lead to videos from conservatives like that, which they use headlines to, well, reframe the whole reality that is actually happening. And so this is also the way these headlines are made. They are made to catch attention. They are not made to, like, objectively summarize what is happening in the headlines. They are made to cause shock, so you actually read the fucking article, because reading the fucking article brings in clicks and money. Thank you for watching.